Hello, friend. Welcome to Science for Sleep. Tonight, we're going to spend some quiet time exploring a state that is often misunderstood and often spoken about in ways that overlook its quiet complexity. The subtle power that can exist within solitude. For most of us, solitude isn't something we ever plan to think deeply about. It's just something that happens. Something that shows up in the background of life, often without announcement. And yet, the world around us has taught us to be uneasy with it. We're often raised to believe that being alone means something is missing, that quiet should be filled, that we should be reaching outward, staying connected, staying occupied, staying visible. Over time, this can make aloneness feel uncomfortable, even when nothing is actually wrong. It can make silence feel heavier than it needs to be. It can make being by ourselves feel like something we should explain. But when we look at the body itself, at how the nervous system responds to changes in stimulation and presence, science tells a quieter story. It shows that periods of reduced input are not mistakes. They're not signals that something has gone wrong. They're part of how the system naturally settles and recalibrates. If you enjoy these quiet journeys, you're welcome to subscribe. And if it feels natural, to leave a comment sharing where you're listening from tonight. It helps others find their way to this calm corner of the world. One sleepy traveler at a time. The quiet continues here, just as it is. Tonight, we'll be gently exploring what actually happens in the nervous system during quieter states, and why being alone, whether by choice or by circumstance, does not function the way we've often been led to believe. On a night like this, many people find themselves alone. Some arrive here deliberately, some gradually, as routines shift and life changes shape, and some through circumstances they did not plan, invite, or expect. For some, aloneness feels familiar. For others, it feels newly present. And for many, it simply is, without needing to be interpreted. This space is not here to sort those experiences. It is not here to suggest that one form of aloneness is easier, healthier, or more meaningful than another. It is not here to turn quiet into a lesson or solitude into a solution. Instead, we're simply acknowledging something steady and real, that regardless of how aloneness begins, the body responds to it in consistent physical ways. Ways that happen beneath language, beneath preference, and beneath the stories we often feel compelled to attach. The nervous system does not ask how the room became quieter. It does not ask whether the quiet was chosen or inherited. It only registers that fewer signals are arriving now. When that happens, small shifts begin. Sound behaves differently. Moments stretch or soften. The edges of attention loosen slightly, no longer pulled in as many directions at once. These changes are not emotional judgments. They are not interpretations of meaning. They are biological adjustments to altered input. When fewer voices are present, the auditory system reduces its constant monitoring. When movement slows, the body's need to scan and respond begins to ease. When social cues decrease, vigilance often softens, even if the reason for the quiet is complex or unresolved. None of this requires intention. None of it requires agreement. And none of it asks anyone to feel a certain way. The nervous system responds to absence the same way it responds to presence. By adapting. This adaptation often goes unnoticed because aloneness is so quickly wrapped in explanation. Explanation about what it means, what it should feel like, what it says about a person or a life. But before any of those explanations form, something quieter is already happening. The body registers fewer demands. The mind receives fewer interruptions. Processing begins to shift inward, not as reflection or rumination, but as regulation. This is not something that needs to be enjoyed. It is not something that needs to be understood. It does not need to be framed as peaceful or productive to be real. For some people, this shift feels neutral. For others, it feels unfamiliar or heavy at first. And for many, it changes subtly from one moment to the next. All of these responses are normal. The human nervous system evolved to move between periods of engagement and periods of reduced input. High stimulation and quiet intervals have always existed. What has changed is how rarely quiet is allowed to arrive without commentary. Here, no commentary is required. As the environment settles into lower input, the body begins doing what it has always done in quieter states. Muscle tension shifts slightly. Breathing patterns soften without instruction. Attention releases its constant outward pull. These changes are subtle. They do not announce themselves. And they do not require permission. Aloneness does not need to be reframed as solitude to be valid. It does not need to be transformed into meaning. It does not need to be explained away. It can simply be recognized as a state the nervous system knows how to inhabit. Nothing more is required here. Nothing needs to be fixed or defined. We are just acknowledging where we are, together, without assumption. I'm glad you're here. Aloneness and loneliness are often spoken about as if they are the same thing. They use the same language. They occupy similar spaces. And from the outside, they can look identical. But inside the body, they are not the same state. Loneliness is a signal of distress. It activates systems designed to detect separation and uncertainty. It increases vigilance, heightens sensitivity to sound and movement, and keeps attention scanning outward, even in quiet environments. Aloneness, by contrast, is simply a condition of reduced social input. It does not automatically carry threat, and it does not automatically carry comfort. What determines how it feels is not the presence or absence of people alone, but how the nervous system interprets safety in that absence. This distinction matters because many people experience loneliness while surrounded by others, and many people experience calm while physically alone. The body does not measure connection by proximity. It measures it by predictability, safety, and signal load. When loneliness is present, the nervous system behaves as if something essential is missing. Heart rate variability often decreases. Stress hormones remain elevated. Attention stays alert, even when there is nothing immediate to respond to. The system is waiting. Aloneness does not always create this response. In some cases, the opposite happens. When social input decreases without triggering threat, the nervous system often begins to downshift. Auditory processing softens. Muscle tension releases in small, gradual ways. Breathing becomes less reactive. This is not a decision. It is a physiological adjustment. The difficulty is that culture often collapses these two states into one. Being alone is assumed to be lonely. Quiet is assumed to be harmful. Absence is assumed to need fixing. Over time, this can teach the body to associate aloneness with danger, even when no danger is present. The response becomes learned rather than innate. This is why some people feel unsettled in quiet spaces, while others feel steady. It is not a reflection of strength or weakness. It is the result of how the nervous system has learned to interpret silence and reduced social input. For those whose aloneness followed a change, the distinction can feel especially blurred. The body may still be adjusting to altered patterns of sound, movement, and rhythm. Familiar cues are missing. New quiet arrives without warning. In these cases, loneliness and aloneness can overlap temporarily. The nervous system has not yet recalibrated. It is still learning what this quieter environment means. This does not indicate permanence, and it does not indicate failure. It indicates transition. The body is very good at adapting, but it adapts through exposure, not explanation. It needs time inside new levels of input to understand that they are safe. When aloneness persists without threat, the nervous system often begins to treat it differently. Scanning decreases. Reactivity lowers. The background sense of urgency fades. This is not because loneliness has been solved. It is because the system has stopped interpreting the quiet as a problem to solve. This process can be slow. It can move forward and backward. And it does not happen on a schedule. Importantly, none of this requires aloneness to be enjoyed. It does not require meaning. It does not require reframing. Neutral is enough. The nervous system is capable of settling into states that are simply stable, without labeling them as good or bad. It has done this for most of human history, during nights, seasons, and intervals of reduced activity. What often interferes now is not aloneness itself, but the expectation placed upon it. The idea that it must feel a certain way. The belief that quiet should immediately be comforting or distressing. The body does not work that way. It responds first. It interprets later. As the distinction between loneliness and aloneness becomes clearer, the system is given room to adjust without pressure. Quiet no longer has to carry meaning. Absence no longer has to announce itself. It can simply exist as a state the nervous system continues to learn how to inhabit. And learning, in this sense, is not something you do. It is something the body does on its own, given enough consistency and time. Nothing needs to be resolved here. Nothing needs to be named. The difference is already unfolding beneath awareness, quietly, as the system settles into lower demand. Sometimes aloneness does not arrive gradually. It does not emerge from a desire for quiet or a need for space. It simply appears, altering the shape of daily life without asking permission. In these moments, the most noticeable change is often not emotional. It is sensory. Rooms sound different. Background noise fades or becomes more pronounced. The rhythm of movement through a space shifts. The nervous system is highly attuned to these changes. It tracks patterns. It expects repetition. And when familiar signals are absent, it pauses to reassess. This reassessment does not happen through thought. It happens through sensation. Sound carries farther. Silence feels wider. Time can feel uneven. stretching in some moments and compressing in others. These are not signs of distress on their own. They are indicators that the system is recalibrating to a new level of input. Human perception is shaped by contrast. When presence changes, absence becomes noticeable. Not because absence is harmful, but because it is different. In environments where voices, routines, or shared movement were once consistent, their absence creates a temporary increase in internal signal. Attention turns inward. The system listens more closely. This can feel unfamiliar, sometimes heavy, sometimes simply quiet in a way that has not yet been categorized. The nervous system does not rush this process. It adjusts through repetition and exposure, not through understanding. At first, vigilance may remain elevated. The body continues to scan. Muscle tone stays slightly engaged. This is not a failure to settle. It is the system ensuring safety while learning a new pattern. Over time, if the environment remains predictable, these responses often soften. Auditory sensitivity decreases. The urge to monitor lessens. Internal pacing steadies. This shift does not depend on how the aloneness began. The body does not keep a record of circumstances. It responds to what is consistently present now. This is why aloneness that begins through change can feel different at first, even when nothing else is wrong. The nervous system is adapting to altered sensory expectations. Adaptation is not linear. Some moments feel quieter. Others feel sharper. This fluctuation is part of the process. The system is learning that fewer inputs do not require constant alertness. That stillness does not automatically signal danger. That quiet can exist without demanding response. This learning happens beneath awareness. It does not announce itself, and it does not require effort. There is no correct timeline for this adjustment. No standard pace, no expected emotional outcome. The body simply continues to respond to the environment it is given. In this way, aloneness that was not chosen is still something the nervous system knows how to inhabit. Not because it prefers it, not because it understands it, but because regulation is adaptive by nature. The human nervous system evolved through cycles of presence and absence, activity and rest, sound and quiet. Periods of reduced social input are not foreign states. They are familiar ones, even if the context feels new. What often makes unchosen aloneness feel difficult is not the quiet itself, but the uncertainty layered on top of it. The questions, the interpretations, the meanings that arrive too quickly. But beneath those layers, the body continues to do what it always has. It listens, it adjusts, it recalibrates. Not to restore what was before, not to move towards something new, but to find stability in what is present now. Nothing about this requires resolution. Nothing about it requires acceptance. It is simply the nervous system learning the contours of a quieter environment, moment by moment, without commentary. And this learning continues quietly, even when it is not noticed, as the system settles into its own steady rhythm. When something is no longer present, the nervous system does not immediately interpret that absence as good or bad. It simply registers a change in signal. The body is constantly receiving information. Sound, movement, proximity, rhythm. These inputs arrive continuously, shaping how alert or relaxed the system needs to be. When those inputs decrease, the system begins to adjust. This adjustment is not emotional, it is mechanical. The nervous system is designed to conserve energy whenever possible. Maintaining high alertness requires effort. Monitoring multiple signals at once places a steady demand on attention, muscle tone, and breathing patterns. When fewer signals arrive, that demand begins to lessen. This is why quieter environments often feel different in the body before they feel different in thought. The shoulders may lower slightly. Breathing may deepen without instruction. The constant readiness to respond begins to soften. These changes are subtle. They do not announce themselves, and they do not depend on how the quiet began. The nervous system does not track intention. It tracks consistency. When absence becomes predictable, the system reduces its need to scan. It no longer prepares for interruption at the same level. Alertness shifts from outward monitoring to a steadier baseline. This does not mean the system shuts down. It remains aware. It remains responsive. But it no longer holds tension unnecessarily. In the presence of sustained social interaction, the nervous system maintains a state of readiness. Facial cues are monitored. Tone is interpreted. Timing is adjusted moment by moment. Even when interactions are neutral or pleasant, this ongoing calibration requires effort. When social input decreases, that calibration pauses. The system is given fewer variables to track, fewer adjustments to make. This is one reason quiet can feel physically different from activity, even when nothing else changes. The body is doing less work. Importantly, this shift does not require solitude to feel comfortable. The nervous system does not wait for comfort before adjusting. It adjusts based on signal load alone. If absence is sudden or unfamiliar, vigilance may remain elevated for a time. The system continues to monitor, checking whether the change is temporary or stable. This is not resistance. It is assessment. Over time, if the environment remains consistent, assessment gives way to adaptation. Heart rate variability often increases as the system finds a steadier rhythm. Breathing becomes less reactive. Muscle engagement decreases in areas that were previously held ready. These are signs of reduced demand, not emotional resolution. The body is not deciding anything. It is responding to what is repeatedly present. This process unfolds quietly and unevenly. Some moments feel settled, others feel alert again. The nervous system is flexible. It recalibrates continuously, responding to small changes in sound, light, and movement. What often interrupts this natural adjustment is interpretation. The urge to explain the quiet, to label it, to decide what it means. Interpretation can reintroduce demand. When the mind remains active, questioning the state of aloneness, vigilance may persist. The body stays partially engaged, responding not to the environment, but to the mental activity layered on top of it. But even then, the system continues to adapt underneath. Reduced external input still lowers the baseline load. Fewer signals still require fewer responses. This is why quiet can feel tiring before it feels restful. The system is transitioning from sustained engagement to reduced demand. that transition requires adjustment. Once the nervous system recognizes that absence is stable, it begins to treat quiet as neutral, not as a loss, not as a threat, just as a different level of input. This neutrality is important. It allows the system to rest without requiring meaning. Solitude does not need to feel positive to reduce demand. It does not need to feel intentional. It does not need to feel permanent or temporary. The nervous system responds to absence because absence changes workload. This is the quiet power often overlooked, not because it transforms experience, but because it simplifies it. With fewer signals to track, the system conserves energy. With fewer adjustments required, internal processes slow. With reduced vigilance, the body settles closer to its baseline. This settling does not erase complexity. It does not resolve uncertainty. It simply reduces strain. And that reduction happens gradually, without instruction, as the nervous system continues to respond to what is present now. Absence, when consistent, becomes part of the environment. The system learns its contours, and in doing so, it finds a steadier rhythm inside quieter space. When external input decreases, the nervous system does not immediately settle into ease. Often, the opposite happens first. Quiet can feel heavier before it feels neutral. Not because something is wrong, but because something has changed. For long periods of time, the body adapts to constant stimulation. Voices, movement, notifications, shared rhythms, background noise. These signals create a steady stream of external reference points. When those reference points fade, attention has fewer places to rest. The nervous system responds by briefly increasing internal awareness. Thoughts become more noticeable. Sensations stand out more clearly. Silence feels wider. This is not a malfunction. It is a transition. The body is accustomed to distributing attention outward. When outward demand decreases, that attention naturally turns inward, even if nothing has been intentionally directed there. This inward shift can feel unfamiliar, sometimes uncomfortable, sometimes simply noticeable in a way that has not been experienced before. The mind may feel busier in quiet moments, not because quiet creates thought, but because thought is no longer competing with as many external signals. This can give the impression that solitude increases mental activity. In reality, it reveals what was already present beneath the noise. The nervous system does not interpret this increase as meaning. It interprets it as signal. It continues to observe, to assess, to adjust. At first, vigilance may remain elevated. The system is still determining whether the reduced input is temporary or stable. It maintains readiness, just in case the environment shifts again. This readiness can feel like tension, a subtle holding, a sense of weight in stillness. Importantly, this phase does not indicate that quiet is harmful or unsuitable. It indicates that the nervous system is in the process of recalibrating. Recalibration takes time because the system relies on repetition, not reassurance. It learns through consistency. As quiet repeats without consequence, the system begins to soften its response. Scanning decreases. Reactivity lowers. Internal pacing steadies. But before this happens, there is often a period of overlap. Old patterns remain active while new ones are forming. This overlap can feel confusing. The body is not yet settled, but it is no longer fully engaged. It exists between states. This in-between period is not meant to be comfortable or uncomfortable. It is simply transitional. In some cases, cultural expectations add additional weight. We are often taught that quiet should feel peaceful immediately, that being alone should either feel freeing or distressing, with little space in between. When reality does not match those expectations, the nervous system may remain alert, not because of the quiet itself, but because of uncertainty around how to interpret it. The body does not require interpretation to adjust, but interpretation can delay settling. When the mind remains active, labeling the experience, vigilance can persist. The system stays partially engaged, responding to mental activity rather than environmental input. Even then, the reduction in external signal continues to have an effect. Fewer sounds still mean fewer interruptions. Fewer interactions still mean fewer micro-adjustments. The nervous system adapts beneath awareness, regardless of conscious evaluation. This is why quiet does not need to be liked to be effective. It does not need to feel good. It does not need to feel meaningful. Neutral exposure is enough. Over time, as the system recognizes that reduced input does not require action, heaviness often gives way to steadiness. The sensation of weight softens. Internal noise becomes less urgent. Silence loses its sharp edges. This shift does not happen all at once. It moves gradually, with moments of calm and moments of renewed alertness. These fluctuations are part of regulation, not signs of regression. The nervous system is not seeking an endpoint. It is seeking balance. Quiet initially feels heavy because the system is carrying habits formed under higher demand. As those habits loosen, effort decreases. Eventually, the absence of constant input requires less energy to maintain. The body rests closer to its baseline. Attention settles without being directed. This process unfolds naturally, without instruction. The heaviness does not need to be pushed through. It does not need to be analyzed. It does not need to be resolved. It is simply part of the nervous system's adjustment to a quieter environment. And as that adjustment continues, the weight of quiet often becomes something else entirely. Not light, not heavy, just still. One of the quiet misunderstandings about solitude is the belief that it only works if it is chosen, welcomed, or understood. That the body must agree with the circumstances before it can begin to settle. But regulation does not work this way. The nervous system does not wait for permission. It does not ask whether quiet feels appropriate or deserved. It responds automatically to the conditions it is placed in. When external demand decreases, regulation begins, even if the quiet feels unfamiliar, unresolved, or unwanted. This response is not emotional. It is structural. The nervous system is constantly balancing two priorities: responsiveness and conservation. When stimulation is high, responsiveness increases. When stimulation decreases, conservation becomes possible. This shift happens beneath awareness. Muscle tone adjusts without instruction. Breathing patterns change without conscious effort. Heart rhythms begin to stabilize without being directed. None of this requires intention. This is why people often notice physical changes before they notice emotional ones. The body settles first. Understanding comes later, if it comes at all. Even in the presence of uncertainty, the nervous system continues to respond to reduced signal load. Fewer interruptions still require fewer adjustments. Less social monitoring still lowers baseline demand. The system does not need quiet to feel safe immediately. It only needs quiet to be consistent. Consistency is what allows regulation to take hold. If the environment remains predictable, the nervous system gradually reduces its readiness. Alertness softens. Vigilance eases. This does not mean the system stops responding. It remains capable. It remains aware. But it no longer expends energy unnecessarily. Importantly, this process does not depend on meaning. The body does not require a narrative to regulate. It does not need reassurance. It responds to patterns, not explanations. This is why attempts to force relaxation often fail. Trying to settle the body through intention can introduce effort. Effort increases demand. Regulation, by contrast, emerges when demand decreases on its own. Quiet environments reduce demand naturally, not because they are calming, but because they require less from the system. This is true regardless of how the quiet began. Whether aloneness arrived through choice or circumstance, the nervous system responds the same way. It adapts to what is present now. There may still be moments of alertness, moments of internal activity. These do not interrupt regulation. They coexist with it. The body does not move from alert to calm in a straight line. It oscillates. It tests. It adjusts. Over time, these oscillations require less effort. The baseline steadies. The system expends less energy maintaining readiness. This settling often happens quietly. It may not be noticed at all. People sometimes expect regulation to feel like relief, but often it feels like nothing in particular. The absence of strain, the absence of urgency, the absence of constant adjustment. This neutrality is important. It allows the system to remain stable without needing to label the experience. Regulation does not require improvement. It does not require acceptance. It does not require enjoyment. It simply requires an environment that does not demand constant response. Solitude provides this by reducing signal load, not by fixing anything, not by teaching anything, just by changing conditions. As these conditions remain, the nervous system continues to adapt. It finds a rhythm that requires less effort to maintain. It settles into a quieter mode of operation. This settling does not announce itself. It does not arrive with clarity or insight. It arrives as steadiness. And that steadiness does not depend on intention. It is already unfolding, quietly, as the system responds to the absence of demand and the presence of consistent quiet. There is often an unspoken expectation placed on quiet, that if the body is settling, the experience should feel pleasant, that regulation should arrive as comfort, clarity, or relief. But the nervous system does not measure success by enjoyment. It measures by stability. Solitude does not need to feel good in order to reduce demand. It does not need to feel meaningful. It does not need to be welcomed. The body responds to conditions, not opinions. This is important because many people notice that even as their system begins to settle, their feelings about being alone remain mixed or unresolved. quiet may still feel strange, or emotionally flat, or simply different from what came before. This does not mean regulation has failed. It means regulation is happening beneath the level of evaluation. The nervous system is capable of maintaining balance in states that feel neutral, ambiguous, or even mildly uncomfortable. It does not require positive reinforcement to continue adapting. In fact, expecting solitude to feel enjoyable can reintroduce demand. The body remains alert, monitoring the experience, checking whether it matches expectation. This monitoring keeps part of the system engaged. When expectation loosens, effort decreases. Solitude works most quietly when it is allowed to exist without commentary, without checking in, without asking whether it is working. Neutral presence is enough. This is why some of the most regulated moments in life go unnoticed. They do not announce themselves as calm. They simply pass without strain. In solitude, this neutrality can feel unfamiliar at first. We are often taught to evaluate experiences quickly, to decide whether they are pleasant or unpleasant, productive or wasteful. Quiet resists this evaluation. It does not offer immediate feedback. It does not respond to interpretation. The nervous system continues adjusting anyway. As social input remains low, the system maintains its reduced workload. Fewer micro-adjustments are required. Fewer responses are expected. This allows internal processes to slow without needing to stop. The body remains awake, aware, and responsive, but it is no longer braced. This state does not feel like happiness. It does not feel like sadness. It feels like less effort. Over time, this reduction in effort can become familiar. Not comforting in a dramatic way, just steady. The system learns that it does not need to constantly prepare for engagement. It can remain open without being activated. This learning does not require liking solitude. It does not require agreement with circumstances. It does not require resolution. The body adapts because adaptation conserves energy. Even in moments when solitude feels emotionally complex, the nervous system can still be regulating. Feelings and physiology are not always aligned. A person can feel uncertain while the body settles. A person can feel unresolved while vigilance decreases. These states are not contradictory. They coexist. This is often misunderstood because we expect internal experiences to move together. But the nervous system works in layers. Physiology shifts first. Emotional understanding may follow later, or it may not. Neither outcome interrupts regulation. Solitude does not ask to be enjoyed. It does not ask to be embraced. It does not ask to be reframed. It simply reduces demand. And reduced demand allows the nervous system to maintain balance with less effort. This balance is quiet. It does not draw attention to itself. It does not feel like achievement. It feels like the absence of strain. As solitude continues, the system becomes familiar with this absence. It no longer registers it as notable. It becomes part of the background. This is not adaptation through preference. It is adaptation through exposure. The nervous system is very good at learning what does not require response. When quiet persists without consequence, the system stops treating it as something to evaluate. It simply becomes the environment. And in that environment, regulation continues to hold. even when feelings remain undefined. Nothing about this requires solitude to be liked. Nothing about it requires a shift in attitude. It is already happening, quietly, as the system settles into a state that demands less from it. As quiet continues, something subtle begins to change in the way the nervous system holds attention. Not all at once, not in a way that announces itself, but gradually through repetition. The nervous system is highly sensitive to familiarity. It learns environments not through description, but through exposure. What is repeated without consequence becomes predictable. Predictability reduces vigilance. When a quiet environment remains stable, the system no longer needs to continuously assess it. It stops checking for sudden changes. It stops preparing for interruption at the same intensity. This is not a conscious process. It happens beneath awareness. At first, quiet may still feel alerting. The system listens closely. It waits. But as the same silence repeats, and nothing demands response, the system begins to recognize that there is no action required. Vigilance softens. This softening does not mean disengagement. The nervous system remains responsive. It remains capable of noticing changes, but it no longer holds readiness at full volume. This is one of the reasons familiar environments feel different from unfamiliar ones, even when they contain the same amount of stimulation. A familiar quiet room does not require the same level of monitoring as an unfamiliar one. The body knows what to expect. When aloneness persists in a consistent space, the nervous system begins to treat it as baseline rather than exception. Quiet is no longer something that stands out. It becomes part of the background. This transition reduces effort. Scanning decreases because there is less uncertainty. Attention no longer needs to stay wide. It can narrow or soften without risk. Muscle tone adjusts accordingly. Areas that were subtly braced begin to release. Breathing becomes less tied to anticipation. These shifts are small. They may not be noticed directly, but over time they accumulate. Reduced vigilance means the nervous system is no longer preparing for interaction that does not arrive. It is no longer holding space for signals that are absent. This conservation of energy matters. Maintaining readiness is costly. It requires continuous engagement of sensory and motor systems. When that engagement is unnecessary, reducing it allows the body to rest closer to its natural rhythm. Familiar quiet creates the conditions for this reduction. Importantly, familiarity does not require comfort. It only requires consistency. The system does not need to enjoy the environment to learn it. It only needs to experience it repeatedly without threat. This is why quiet that initially feels heavy can later feel neutral. Not because meaning has changed, but because vigilance has decreased. The nervous system has stopped asking whether the quiet needs a response. This shift is especially noticeable in attention. Early in aloneness, attention may feel restless. It moves quickly. It searches for input. As quiet becomes familiar, attention slows. It no longer scans outward constantly. It becomes less urgent. This does not mean the mind stops thinking. It means thought no longer competes with constant sensory demand. The body is no longer braced for interruption. This state is not dramatic. It does not feel like relief or insight. it feels like less work. The system continues to operate, but with fewer adjustments, less calibration, less readiness. Familiar quiet allows the nervous system to settle into this mode naturally. This settling does not imply permanence. It does not lock the system into isolation. It simply reflects the system's ability to adapt to current conditions. If stimulation increases again, vigilance can return. The system remains flexible. But while quiet persists, reduced vigilance conserves energy. This conservation is one of the understated benefits of familiar solitude. Not because it improves anything, but because it removes unnecessary strain. The nervous system is always balancing responsiveness with efficiency. When conditions allow, it chooses efficiency. Familiar quiet signals that such a choice is possible. Over time, the system learns that not every moment requires readiness. That stillness can exist without cost. That absence does not require monitoring. This learning does not require attention or intention. It unfolds naturally as the environment remains unchanged. And as vigilance continues to soften, the body maintains regulation with less effort, settling into a quieter baseline that feels neither remarkable nor demanding, just steady. When external stimulation decreases, many people notice a change that can feel unexpected. The mind seems more active. Thoughts become easier to notice. Memories surface more readily. Inner commentary feels louder against the quiet. This often leads to the assumption that solitude causes thinking, that being alone somehow creates mental activity. But the nervous system tells a different story. The mind has always been active. What changes in quiet is not the amount of thinking, but how noticeable it becomes. In environments filled with sound, movement, and interaction, thought competes with constant input. Attention is repeatedly redirected outward. Internal processes run in the background. When those external demands fade, the background becomes more visible. This visibility is not a problem to solve. It is a shift in contrast. The nervous system prioritizes incoming signals. When fewer signals arrive, attention naturally turns inward, not by choice, but by availability. This inward turn can feel abrupt. The quiet creates space, and that space fills with mental activity that was previously masked. At first, this can feel unsettling. The mind appears busy. Thoughts seem persistent. But this does not mean the system is becoming more agitated. It means fewer external signals are competing for attention. The nervous system is still regulating. It is still conserving energy. It is simply processing information that now has room to surface. This phase is temporary. As quiet becomes familiar and vigilance continues to soften, mental activity often changes in quality. Thoughts slow. They become less urgent. They drift rather than demand response. The system no longer treats internal activity as something requiring action. This shift happens gradually. At first, attention may latch onto thoughts quickly. They stand out sharply against silence. The system notices them because there is little else to notice. Over time, as quiet remains consistent, attention relaxes. Thoughts are still present, but they no longer carry the same weight. The mind is allowed to move without being steered. This process does not require control. It does not require stillness. It does not require mental quiet. The nervous system does not aim to eliminate thought. It aims to reduce unnecessary effort. As vigilance lowers, effort decreases. Thoughts are no longer scanned for relevance or threat. They are allowed to pass without engagement. This is often misunderstood as mental settling, but it is better understood as reduced monitoring. The mind does not become empty. It becomes less supervised. This change can feel subtle. It may go unnoticed until the absence of urgency becomes apparent. Moments pass without interruption. Attention rests more easily. The mind moves without needing to be directed. This does not mean thinking stops. It means thinking requires less energy. The nervous system no longer treats internal activity as something that must be managed. Importantly, this shift does not depend on understanding thoughts or resolving them. It does not require insight. It does not require interpretation. Thoughts do not need to be completed, answered, or reframed for regulation to continue. The system responds to consistency, not content. As familiar quiet continues, the mind learns that internal activity does not require immediate response. Thoughts can arise without consequence. They do not signal action. This learning reduces mental effort. The nervous system recognizes that it does not need to intervene. It allows the mind to wander without engagement. This is not disengagement from reality. It is a reduction in oversight. The system remains alert enough to respond if needed, but it does not remain on standby unnecessarily. Over time, this reduces cognitive strain. The mind is free to move at its own pace. Thoughts appear and fade without creating tension. Silence no longer amplifies them. This is why early solitude can feel mentally loud, while later solitude feels mentally open. The difference is not thought content. It is regulation. The nervous system has stopped scanning internal activity for threat. This change does not arrive suddenly. It unfolds quietly as vigilance continues to soften and familiarity increases. Nothing needs to be done for this to happen. Nothing needs to be changed. The system is already adjusting moment by moment, allowing the mind to think without effort, as quiet becomes part of the background rather than something to react to. Solitude is often confused with withdrawal. From the outside, the two can look similar. Less interaction, fewer exchanges, more time spent without others nearby. But inside the nervous system, they are not the same state. Withdrawal is driven by protection. It carries tension. It narrows attention and prepares the body to avoid further input. Solitude does not require this narrowing. Solitude is simply a reduction in external demand. It does not assume threat. It does not require the system to brace or retreat. The difference lies in how the nervous system holds readiness. In withdrawal, vigilance remains high. The body stays prepared to react. Muscle tone often increases rather than softens. Attention becomes tight. It monitors closely, scanning for signs that engagement might be required again. Solitude does not inherently create this response. When solitude is present without threat, the nervous system often broadens rather than contracts. Awareness remains open. The body stays available rather than guarded. This distinction is important because many people worry that being alone means they are pulling away from life. That reduced interaction signals disconnection. That quiet equals disengagement. Physiologically, this is not necessarily true. The nervous system can remain connected without being activated. It can stay responsive without being stimulated. It can be present without being pulled outward. Solitude allows this balance by lowering demand without increasing defense. This does not mean solitude always feels open or spacious. Early quiet can still feel heavy or alerting. But as familiarity grows, the system learns that reduced input does not require withdrawal. It allows openness to remain. This openness shows up subtly. Breathing remains full rather than shallow. Muscle tone stays flexible rather than rigid. Attention rests without collapsing inward. The body is not hiding. It is simply not being called upon. Withdrawal, by contrast, carries a sense of closing. The system prepares to protect itself. Energy is spent maintaining distance. Solitude conserves energy by reducing unnecessary engagement. This conservation is often misread. From a cultural perspective, activity is equated with participation. Visibility is equated with connection. Quiet is equated with absence. But the nervous system does not measure connection this way. It measures safety, predictability, and load. When load decreases without threat, the system remains connected internally. It does not sever ties. It does not shut down. It simply stops adjusting continuously. This distinction explains why some people feel more present when alone than when surrounded by others. Their system is no longer stretched across multiple signals. Attention is no longer divided. Presence becomes simpler. This does not require isolation. It does not require avoidance. It is the result of reduced demand. Solitude, in this sense, is not a movement away from life. It is a pause in external calibration. The nervous system is given a chance to return to baseline without losing responsiveness. Importantly, solitude can coexist with connection. One does not cancel the other. The body can remain oriented toward others even when they are not physically present. It can hold memory, expectation, and care without being actively engaged. This orientation does not disappear in solitude. It simply becomes quieter. Withdrawal seeks distance to reduce threat. Solitude reduces demand without assuming threat. This is why solitude does not require explanation. It does not need to be justified as rest, recovery, or strategy. It is a state the nervous system can inhabit without harm. As quiet continues and vigilance remains low, the body maintains openness. It does not close in on itself. It does not retreat. It remains ready but not braced. This readiness without tension is a stable state. It conserves energy while preserving responsiveness. The nervous system does not see this as absence. It sees it as reduced workload. Understanding this distinction removes pressure. Solitude does not need to be defended against interpretations of withdrawal. It does not need to be framed as temporary or intentional. It is simply a condition of reduced input that the nervous system knows how to manage. And as long as that condition remains non-threatening, regulation continues quietly without requiring the body to pull away or shut down. Solitude remains open. The system stays present. Nothing is being avoided. The body is simply resting from constant adjustment, holding itself steady inside quieter space. The nervous system does not require long stretches of solitude to respond to reduced demand. It responds to patterns. Short periods of quiet matter. Moments without interruption matter. Even brief reductions in social and sensory input register in the body. This is often overlooked because quiet is usually measured in duration. Minutes, hours, days. But the nervous system measures something different. It measures frequency. Each time external demand decreases, even briefly, the system has an opportunity to lower effort. Muscle tone can soften. Breathing can slow. Attention can release its constant outward pull. These moments do not need to last. They simply need to occur. When short periods of quiet repeat, the nervous system begins to recognize a pattern. Reduced demand is no longer rare. It becomes familiar. This familiarity changes how the system responds. At first, brief quiet may feel insignificant, too short to matter, too easily interrupted. But the body registers it anyway. The nervous system is always updating its expectations based on experience. It does not require extended exposure to learn. It adjusts through repetition. Each quiet moment contributes to a cumulative effect, not because it resolves anything, but because it reduces strain again and again. Over time, these small reductions add up. The system begins to anticipate periods of lower demand. It no longer holds readiness continuously. It allows effort to rise and fall more flexibly. This flexibility matters. When the nervous system believes demand is constant, it remains engaged. It conserves less. It spends more energy maintaining alertness. When it learns that demand fluctuates, it can rest in between. Short periods of solitude teach the system this fluctuation. They signal that not every moment requires response. That engagement is not permanent. That stillness can appear and disappear without consequence. This learning happens quietly. The body does not announce it. It does not create noticeable shifts at first. But over time, baseline tension decreases. Recovery becomes easier. Settling requires less effort. Importantly, these periods do not need to be intentional. They do not need to be protected or planned. They occur naturally. Moments between tasks. Evenings after activity subsides. Spaces where interaction pauses. The nervous system uses all of these moments. It does not evaluate whether they are enough. It simply responds. This is why people often feel subtly steadier over time without knowing why. Nothing dramatic has changed. No insight has occurred. But the system has experienced repeated reductions in demand. Each one lowered strain slightly. Each one reinforced the pattern. This accumulation does not require solitude to be uninterrupted. Interruptions do not erase the effect. The nervous system does not reset to zero when stimulation returns. It carries forward what it has learned. Each quiet moment leaves a trace, a small adjustment, a slight recalibration. Over time, these traces shape baseline regulation. The system becomes more efficient. It expends less energy maintaining readiness. It adapts to changing levels of input more smoothly. This efficiency is subtle. It does not feel like calm. It does not feel like relief. It feels like less effort. The body transitions more easily between engagement and rest. It no longer treats quiet as rare or disruptive. Short periods of solitude normalize reduced demand. They teach the nervous system that stillness is part of the environment, not an exception. This learning reduces vigilance. The system no longer needs to stay on alert continuously. It trusts that engagement will return when needed. This trust is physiological, not cognitive. The body does not think it. It experiences it. Over time, regulation becomes more resilient. The system recovers faster. It settles more readily. All of this happens without awareness. Nothing needs to be done to encourage it. Nothing needs to be extended or intensified. Short periods of quiet are already enough. They accumulate naturally, shaping how the nervous system responds to both presence and absence. And as this accumulation continues, solitude no longer needs to arrive in long stretches to have an effect. Its influence is already present, quietly supporting regulation in the background. One of the quiet misunderstandings about solitude is the idea that it fills something. That when people are alone, quiet steps in to replace what is no longer present. But solitude does not work this way. It does not substitute. It does not compensate. And it does not resolve absence. The nervous system does not treat quiet as a replacement for connection. It treats it as a change in input. This distinction matters because absence is often interpreted emotionally, while the body responds physically. What is missing may still be felt. What has changed may still be noticed. Solitude does not remove this awareness. Instead, it changes how the body holds it. When something that was once present is no longer there, the nervous system initially responds to contrast. Patterns have shifted. Signals have changed. The system registers difference before it registers stability. This does not mean the system expects quiet to fill the space left behind. It simply adapts to the new level of input. Quiet does not erase memory. It does not soften meaning. It does not rewrite attachment. What it does is reduce ongoing demand. The body no longer needs to adjust moment by moment to signals that are no longer arriving. It no longer needs to calibrate to rhythms that have changed. This reduction does not remove significance. It removes effort. Absence remains absence. Quiet does not disguise it. But the nervous system learns to hold that absence without constant strain. This learning happens gradually. At first, absence may feel sharp. The contrast is clear. The system notices what is no longer there. Over time, as quiet becomes consistent, the nervous system stops treating that contrast as something that requires continuous response. This does not mean the absence disappears. It means the system no longer braces against it. There is an important difference between feeling absence and reacting to it. The nervous system is capable of holding awareness without activation. It can recognize what is missing without maintaining vigilance. Solitude supports this by lowering background demand. When fewer external adjustments are required, the system has more capacity to remain steady. Not because it has resolved anything, but because it is no longer stretched. This steadiness is often mistaken for acceptance, but it is not emotional resolution. It is regulation. The body has learned that it does not need to respond continuously to what is not present. It can remain stable even when awareness remains. This is why solitude can feel neutral rather than comforting. It does not soothe absence. It simply allows the system to stop working against it. There is no replacement happening here. Nothing is being filled. Instead, effort is being reduced. The nervous system conserves energy by no longer preparing for signals that do not arrive. It stops waiting. It stops checking. This conservation does not remove significance. It removes unnecessary work. This is especially important to understand when aloneness was not chosen, when quiet followed change rather than intention. In these cases, the body may still register what is missing, even as regulation improves. These two processes do not cancel each other out. A person can feel the weight of absence while the nervous system settles. The presence of one does not prevent the other. Solitude does not ask absence to disappear. It does not ask it to become meaningful. It simply creates conditions where the body does not need to stay activated in response to it. This distinction allows regulation to exist without forcing emotional interpretation. Nothing needs to be reframed. Nothing needs to be resolved. The nervous system is not trying to replace what was there. It is trying to find balance within what remains. As quiet continues, this balance becomes easier to maintain. The system expends less energy holding itself together. It remains responsive without being strained. Absence is still known. Quiet is still present. They coexist without competition. Solitude does not claim to heal or replace. It simply reduces the workload placed on the nervous system by constant adjustment. And in doing so, it allows the body to remain steady inside absence, without asking it to change. This steadiness is not dramatic. It does not arrive as relief. It arrives as the absence of constant effort. The nervous system continues to hold what is known, what is remembered, and what is present now, without needing to respond to all of it at once. Quiet remains quiet. Absence remains absence. Nothing is being substituted. The body is simply learning how to exist with less strain, as regulation continues beneath awareness, steady and unchanged. When conditions change, the nervous system responds before understanding forms. This ordering is often overlooked. The body adjusts first. Meaning arrives later, if it arrives at all. Safety, in physiological terms, is not a thought. It is a pattern. The nervous system learns safety through repetition, through consistency, through the absence of consequence. It does not require explanation. When an environment remains predictable, the body begins to reduce effort automatically. Muscle tone softens. Breathing steadies. Heart rhythms become more regular. These changes occur even when the mind remains uncertain. This is why people sometimes notice physical settling, while thoughts remain unresolved. The system is responding to conditions, not conclusions. The body does not wait for reassurance. It responds to what happens again and again. Quiet that persists without interruption teaches the nervous system that reduced input does not require defense. The system learns this not through belief, but through experience. Each moment without demand reinforces the pattern. This learning is subtle. It unfolds beneath awareness, and it does not announce itself. The mind may still question. It may still search for meaning. It may still revisit what has changed. None of this interrupts the body's adjustment. physiology, and interpretation operate on different timelines. The nervous system prioritizes efficiency. If vigilance is unnecessary, it reduces it. If effort can be conserved, it is. This happens even when understanding lags behind. In fact, attempts to force understanding can increase effort. The system remains partially engaged, responding to mental activity rather than environmental input. But the body continues adapting underneath. Reduced external demand still lowers baseline workload. Fewer adjustments are required. Less energy is spent maintaining readiness. Over time, these reductions accumulate. The nervous system begins to treat quiet as safe by default. Not because it has been labeled safe, but because nothing has contradicted it. Safety, in this sense, is the absence of repeated disruption. This process does not depend on emotional agreement. The body can feel safe while emotions remain complex. It can remain steady while the mind continues to search. These states are not in conflict. The nervous system is designed to keep functioning even when understanding is incomplete. It does not need closure to regulate. As the body learns safety through experience, internal responses soften. Startled responses decrease. Baseline tension lowers. These shifts are not dramatic. They do not feel like relief. They feel like normal. The system no longer treats quiet as something to evaluate. It becomes part of the environment. This normalization allows regulation to continue with less effort. Importantly, this learning is reversible. If conditions change, the system can respond again. It remains flexible. But while quiet persists, the body holds safety without requiring confirmation. This is why people often notice that stillness becomes easier to inhabit over time, even when understanding remains unresolved. The body has already adapted. The mind may still be catching up. This gap between physical settling and mental clarity is natural. It does not indicate avoidance or denial. It reflects how regulation works. The nervous system is not waiting for permission. It is responding to patterns. As those patterns remain stable, safety becomes implicit rather than explicit. The body no longer checks. It simply exists. This existence does not feel like an achievement. It does not feel like insight. It feels like the absence of effort. And that absence continues quietly as the nervous system maintains balance in a quieter environment, having learned safety through experience rather than explanation. There often comes a moment when quiet no longer stands out. Not because anything has changed dramatically, not because meaning has been found or resolved, but because the nervous system has stopped reacting to the absence of input. At first, aloneness can feel pronounced. Silence has edges. Stillness draws attention to itself. The system notices the difference between what was and what is. Over time, as quiet remains consistent, this contrast softens. The nervous system no longer highlights the absence. It stops marking it as notable. Aloneness becomes less of an event and more of a background condition. This shift is subtle. It is easy to miss. There is no clear boundary between loud quiet and neutral quiet. No moment of arrival. Instead, attention gradually stops returning to the fact of being alone. The system no longer checks. This is not disengagement. It is familiarity. The nervous system has learned that the environment does not require continuous assessment. It no longer treats silence as something to monitor. As a result, internal signal changes. Thoughts no longer echo as sharply. Sensations blend more easily into the background. Time feels less segmented. This does not mean thinking stops. It means thinking no longer competes with the environment. The body remains awake and responsive, but it is no longer braced. This reduction in readiness is what makes quiet feel less loud. The system has stopped amplifying it. Importantly, this does not require liking aloneness. It does not require agreement with circumstances. It does not require acceptance. The nervous system is responding to consistency, not preference. When aloneness remains without interruption, the system treats it as neutral, not something to resist, not something to enhance, just part of the surroundings. This neutrality changes how attention behaves. Early in solitude, attention often returns repeatedly to the fact of being alone. It checks. It reorients. As familiarity grows, attention rests more easily. It is no longer pulled back to absence. The system has learned that nothing needs to be done. This resting is not passive. The nervous system remains capable of responding if needed. It simply does not stay on alert unnecessarily. This state is efficient. Maintaining readiness requires energy. When readiness is no longer required, energy is conserved. This conservation feels like steadiness. Quiet no longer feels heavy or sharp. It no longer presses in on awareness. It simply exists. This does not mean the experience becomes pleasant or comforting. It means it becomes unremarkable. The nervous system stops narrating it. This is often mistaken for numbness or detachment, but it is neither. The system is still responsive. It is still aware. It has simply stopped emphasizing what does not require response. This is one of the quiet signs of regulation. Not relief, not calm, but the absence of amplification. Aloneness stops feeling loud because the nervous system has stopped turning up the volume. This does not happen all at once. It unfolds gradually. Moments of neutrality appear between moments of alertness. Those moments lengthen. Eventually, quiet no longer interrupts experience. It blends into it. The system moves through time without repeatedly orienting to absence. It holds steady. This steadiness does not erase complexity. It does not resolve emotion. It simply reduces effort. The nervous system continues to respond to what is present now, without marking quiet as something that needs attention. And in doing so, aloneness becomes just another environmental condition. Not something to react to, not something to evaluate, just something that is. And that is when quiet no longer feels loud. When quiet no longer stands out, the nervous system begins to treat it as a baseline rather than a condition. This does not mean aloneness becomes permanent or defining. It means the system no longer registers it as a deviation. Baseline is not an emotional state. It is a level of effort. The nervous system constantly adjusts its baseline depending on demand. When engagement is frequent, baseline readiness rises. When demand decreases, baseline lowers. Solitude allows this lowering to occur. As quiet persists, the system learns that constant readiness is unnecessary. It no longer prepares for interruption at the same level. It settles into a state that requires less energy to maintain. This settling does not announce itself. It feels ordinary. The body continues to function normally. Movement remains available. Attention remains flexible. But effort decreases. The system no longer carries a layer of tension simply in case something happens. It responds when needed, rather than preparing continuously. This is what it means for solitude to become a stable baseline. The nervous system is not shutting down. It is conserving energy. In high-demand environments, readiness must be maintained even when nothing happens. The body stays alert because interruption is likely. In quieter environments, that probability decreases. The system adjusts accordingly. This adjustment allows internal processes to operate with less interference. Breathing settles into a steadier rhythm. Muscle engagement becomes more efficient. These changes are not dramatic. They do not create noticeable sensations. They create the absence of strain. A stable baseline does not feel like calm or relaxation. It feels like normal. The system no longer draws attention to itself. This is why people often underestimate the impact of sustained quiet. It does not create peak experiences. It removes unnecessary work. Over time, this removal matters. Energy that was previously spent maintaining readiness becomes available for basic functioning. The body recovers more easily from activity. Transitions require less effort. This does not depend on solitude being continuous. It depends on it being familiar. When quiet is part of the environment, the system adapts to it as default. This adaptation does not require agreement or enjoyment. It is not influenced by attitude. The nervous system responds to probability. If interruption is unlikely, readiness decreases. Solitude changes that probability. This shift also affects how stimulation is experienced when it returns. The system responds more flexibly. It ramps up when needed and settles again more easily afterward. A stable baseline allows for smoother transitions. Without constant readiness, engagement becomes more intentional. The system does not remain activated between moments of demand. This efficiency reduces cumulative strain. The body is not designed to stay engaged indefinitely. It requires intervals of reduced demand to maintain balance. Solitude provides those intervals by lowering baseline effort. Importantly, this does not isolate the system. It keeps it responsive. Baseline does not mean disengaged. It means not over-prepared. The nervous system remains capable of connection. It simply does not hold readiness continuously. This distinction allows solitude to support regulation without becoming withdrawal. The system stays open, but not activated. As this baseline stabilizes, quiet no longer needs to be noticed. It no longer requires adjustment. It becomes part of how the body organizes itself. This organization is quiet. It does not call attention to itself, but it shapes how energy is used over time. Solitude as a stable baseline reduces the cost of being awake and responsive. It allows the nervous system to function without excess effort. This is not improvement. It is efficiency. And efficiency allows regulation to hold without demand, as the system continues to operate within quieter conditions, steady and unremarkable. There is a point where the nervous system stops looking for improvement. Not because something has been solved, not because understanding has arrived, but because nothing is presenting itself as broken. Solitude does not appear to the body as a problem. It does not arrive with instructions. It does not suggest a direction. It simply exists as a condition of reduced demand. Much of the way solitude is discussed assumes that it should lead somewhere, that it should produce clarity, insight, or change. That time spent alone must justify itself through outcome. But the nervous system does not operate this way. It does not evaluate experiences for productivity. It does not measure progress. It does not search for meaning. It responds to input. When input decreases, effort decreases. When effort decreases, regulation holds. Nothing needs to be improved for this to happen. Quiet does not require optimization. It does not benefit from being shaped or guided. It does not become more effective when it is analyzed. In fact, analysis can reintroduce demand. When the mind begins asking what solitude should be doing, attention tightens. The system becomes alert again. Effort returns. But in the absence of this questioning, the nervous system continues to settle on its own. There is nothing in quiet that asks to be fixed. Silence does not point to deficiency. Stillness does not signal stagnation. Absence does not announce failure. These interpretations come later, layered on top of a state that was neutral to begin with. The body does not experience solitude as lacking. It experiences it as simplified. Fewer signals, fewer adjustments, fewer demands. This simplification is not a solution. It is a condition. And conditions do not require improvement. The nervous system is designed to function across a wide range of environments. Busy ones, quiet ones, uncertain ones. It adapts without needing to transform those environments into something else. Solitude is one of those environments. It does not ask the body to become different. It allows the body to stop working so hard to stay the same. This distinction is subtle but important. Fixing implies deficiency. Improvement implies lack. Solitude does not imply either. It is not a signal that something needs to be addressed. It is not an invitation to change direction. It is simply a reduction in load. When load is reduced, the nervous system naturally conserves energy. It settles into a steadier rhythm. It maintains balance with less effort. This balance does not announce itself. It does not feel like achievement. It feels like nothing in particular. And that is enough. There is no requirement to use solitude well. There is no correct way to experience it. There is no ideal response. The nervous system does not care whether quiet feels useful. It cares whether quiet is consistent. Consistency allows regulation to hold. This is why solitude can be present without being meaningful. It does not need to be turned into something. Nothing about this requires explanation. Nothing about it requires intention. The system is not waiting for permission to settle. It is already responding. When self-help narratives fall away, effort falls away with them. The body no longer needs to perform improvement. It no longer needs to search for progress. It simply exists within reduced demand. This existence is not passive. The system remains alive, responsive, and aware. It is simply not overextended. Nothing is being fixed because nothing is broken. quiet is not a problem to solve. It is not a state to optimize. It is not a lesson to learn. It is an environment that allows regulation to continue without interference. And as the nervous system recognizes that nothing needs to be done, effort softens further. Attention loosens. The system rests in its own steady rhythm. There is nothing to reach for here, nothing to correct. The body remains exactly as it needs to be, responding to what is present now, without demand. There is often an unspoken pressure surrounding quiet, a sense that it must be justified, that time spent alone requires a reason. The nervous system does not carry this pressure. It does not ask why input has decreased. It responds to the decrease itself. Explanation is a social requirement, not a biological one. In many settings, reduced engagement invites questions. What are you doing? Why are you so quiet? What does this mean? These questions assume that aloneness is a deviation, that it requires context, that it needs to be accounted for. But the body does not operate on explanation. It operates on signal. When signals lessen, effort lessens. When demand drops, regulation holds. Nothing else is required. Quiet does not need to be defended. It does not need to be translated into purpose. It does not need to be framed as rest, healing, or intention. The nervous system does not care what quiet is called. It cares that demand has decreased. This distinction creates relief. When explanation falls away, effort falls away with it. The system no longer needs to stay alert for interpretation. It no longer needs to manage how quiet appears. There is no need to prove that solitude is useful. No need to justify needing less input. No need to turn absence into a reasoned decision. The body is not waiting for permission. It has already begun to respond. This is why regulation can deepen when quiet is allowed to exist without narrative. Attention loosens. Monitoring decreases. The system no longer spends energy explaining itself. This does not mean quiet must be hidden. It means it does not need to be explained. Explanation introduces effort. It keeps the system engaged. When explanation is unnecessary, the body settles further. This settling is not dramatic. It does not feel like relief in a strong sense. It feels like less work. The nervous system stops managing how quiet is perceived. It stops anticipating response. It stops preparing to justify itself. This reduction in anticipatory effort matters. Anticipation keeps vigilance high. It maintains readiness even when no action is required. When quiet does not require explanation, vigilance softens. The body recognizes that nothing needs to be accounted for. It can remain present without being on display. This state is stabilizing. It allows regulation to hold without interruption. The system remains responsive, but not reactive. It stays open without being activated. This openness without demand is one of the quiet comforts of solitude. Not because solitude is meaningful, but because it does not require performance. Quiet without explanation allows the body to exist without being evaluated. This is especially important when aloneness was not chosen. Explanation often follows unplanned quiet. Questions arise, assumptions form. But the nervous system does not need to answer those questions. It does not need to explain absence. It does not need to clarify circumstance. It responds to what is present now. This response continues even when the mind is still occupied with explanation. But when explanation loosens, regulation deepens. Nothing needs to be justified here. Quiet does not need to be framed as intentional. It does not need to be framed as temporary or permanent. It does not need to mean anything. The nervous system is not waiting for context. It is responding to conditions. When explanation falls away, the system expends less energy. It no longer holds readiness for questions that do not arrive. This allows stillness to remain uninterrupted. Quiet does not owe anyone a reason. It does not need to defend itself. And when it is allowed to exist without explanation, the nervous system continues to settle, unburdened by interpretation, holding itself steady inside reduced demand. Quiet has a way of preserving continuity. It does not interrupt time. It does not ask for reinvention. It does not insist that anything become new. The nervous system is not oriented toward transformation. It is oriented toward stability. When conditions remain consistent, regulation holds. When demand does not spike, effort remains low. Solitude supports this steadiness by allowing time to move without pressure. In environments that emphasize change, attention is pulled forward. The system prepares for difference. It anticipates adjustment. Quiet does something else. It allows the body to remain where it is. This does not mean stagnation. It means continuity. The nervous system responds well to continuity. Predictable rhythms require less energy to maintain. Familiar patterns reduce the need for vigilance. Solitude preserves these patterns by lowering interference. There is no need to reset, no need to redirect, no need to reframe. The system does not require a new version of itself to regulate. It functions best when it is allowed to remain consistent. Change introduces demand. It requires attention. It requires recalibration. Quiet reduces this demand by allowing experience to flow without interruption. This is not about resisting change. It is about not manufacturing it. The nervous system is always adapting, but it adapts more efficiently when conditions are stable. Solitude offers this stability. Time passes without being marked. Moments follow one another without emphasis. The system does not need to prepare for a shift that is not coming. This unmarked passage of time allows regulation to deepen. The body does not need to anticipate. It does not need to evaluate where it is in relation to where it should be. It simply continues. This continuity is calming, not because it is comforting, but because it is uncomplicated. The nervous system is relieved of comparison. It does not need to assess progress. It does not need to measure distance. There is no internal pressure to become something else. Quiet holds space without direction. This is especially noticeable when expectations fall away. Without the idea that something must change, the system relaxes. It no longer scans for cues that signal transition. It no longer prepares for adjustment. It remains steady. This steadiness allows internal rhythms to synchronize. Breathing settles into a regular pattern. Attention moves without urgency. The body is not waiting for a moment to arrive. It is not counting down. It is not bracing for difference. It is simply present. Continuity does not erase complexity. It does not deny experience. It allows experience to exist without requiring response. The nervous system is capable of holding this state for long periods. It evolved in environments where change was gradual, where seasons shifted slowly, where rhythm mattered more than novelty. Quiet reflects this older pacing. It allows the system to operate without being pulled forward by expectation. There is no need to close one phase or begin another. No need to mark time with significance. Solitude does not demand transition. It preserves the ongoing. This preservation reduces effort. The body is not asked to reset or reorient. It remains organized around what is already familiar. This familiarity supports regulation. The nervous system remains flexible but not stretched. It is available without being activated. Continuity allows the system to stay grounded in the present without needing to define it. Quiet does not push time forward. It does not pull it back. It allows it to move at its own pace. And as this continuity holds, the nervous system continues to settle, unhurried, unpressured, existing without demand, steady inside quieter time. The nervous system becomes more efficient in states it recognizes. Familiarity reduces effort. Repeated conditions require fewer adjustments. What is known does not need to be monitored as closely. This is true of sound, of movement, of social presence, and it is true of quiet. When solitude repeats, the nervous system no longer approaches it as something new. It does not prepare in the same way. It does not hold itself in readiness. The system remembers. Each time quiet arrives without consequence, vigilance lowers a little more easily. The body does not need to check as carefully. It does not need to remain alert for interruption. This is not learning in a conscious sense. It is not recognition through thought. It is pattern recognition through experience. The nervous system is constantly updating its expectations. When the same conditions appear again and again, the system adjusts its baseline response. What once required effort now requires less. Early on, quiet may have required attention. The system stayed alert. It listened closely. Over time, that listening softens. The nervous system no longer treats silence as an unknown. It no longer scans for meaning in the absence of sound or interaction. It recognizes the pattern. This recognition reduces vigilance. Vigilance is costly. It requires energy. It keeps the system slightly activated, even when nothing is happening. When vigilance decreases, the body conserves that energy. This conservation does not feel like something being added. It feels like something being removed. Tension that was once held lightly is no longer held at all. Readiness that was once constant becomes optional. The nervous system remains capable of responding. It simply no longer prepares for response by default. This shift happens quietly. There is no moment where the system decides it is safe. There is no conclusion. There is only repetition. Quiet arrives. Nothing happens. Quiet arrives again. Each repetition reinforces the same message. No response is required. The body listens to this message. Over time, the system stops treating quiet as something to evaluate. It becomes a familiar state. Familiar states are easier to enter. They require fewer adjustments. they demand less energy. This is why repeated solitude often feels different from early solitude. Not because meaning has changed, but because effort has decreased. The nervous system has learned that it does not need to stay alert in this environment. This learning does not erase awareness. The system is still present. It still notices changes, but it does not remain on standby. The body is no longer holding itself ready for something that does not arrive. This reduction in readiness allows regulation to deepen. The system settles more quickly. It recovers more easily. It moves through quiet without resistance. This settling does not require time measured in hours or days. It is cumulative. Each familiar quiet moment reinforces the pattern. Each repetition reduces the need for vigilance. The nervous system does not forget this learning when stimulation returns. It carries it forward. When quiet appears again, the system recognizes it sooner. It settles faster. This is how familiarity works. It reduces the cost of adjustment. Over time, the body spends less energy transitioning into quiet. It no longer treats it as an exception. Quiet becomes part of the system's known range. This familiarity creates steadiness, not excitement, not relief. Steadiness. The nervous system rests closer to its baseline. It does not oscillate as sharply. It remains balanced with less effort. This balance is not dramatic. It does not draw attention to itself. It simply holds. The system does not need to be convinced. It does not need reassurance. It responds to what it has already learned. Quiet has arrived before. Nothing required response. So the body settles again and again. And as this repetition continues, the nervous system moves into familiar quiet with less effort each time, holding itself steady inside reduced demand, without anticipation, without commentary, simply resting in what it already knows. At a certain point, explanation becomes unnecessary. Not because everything has been understood, but because understanding is no longer being asked for. The nervous system does not require commentary to remain regulated. It does not need narration. It does not need interpretation. When conditions are familiar and demand is low, the system simply continues. Stillness does not present itself as an event. It does not announce arrival. It does not ask to be noticed. It is simply there. Earlier, quiet may have drawn attention to itself. It may have felt pronounced. It may have carried weight. Now, it does not. Not because it has changed, but because the nervous system has stopped responding to it. This is not disengagement. It is efficiency. The system no longer uses energy describing what is happening. It no longer evaluates the environment. It rests inside it. Stillness without commentary is not empty. It is unremarked. Thoughts may still pass. Sensations may still arise. Time continues to move, but none of it requires response. The nervous system is no longer checking. It is no longer scanning for meaning. It has learned that nothing is being asked of it. This absence of demand allows experience to unfold quietly. Breathing continues without emphasis. Muscle tone remains flexible. Attention drifts without urgency. There is no sense of waiting, no sense of arrival, just continuation. Stillness without commentary feels different from stillness that is observed. When stillness is observed, the system remains engaged. It maintains a layer of monitoring. When commentary falls away, monitoring falls away with it. The body remains present, but it is no longer supervising itself. This supervision is often subtle. It can persist unnoticed for long periods. But when it releases, effort releases with it. The nervous system no longer narrates internal experience. It no longer tracks what is happening. It simply allows. This allowance is not intentional. It is the result of familiarity and reduced demand. Nothing needs to be held together. The system does not collapse without commentary. It stabilizes. Experience continues without being shaped. Quiet does not need to be maintained. Stillness does not need to be protected. They persist on their own. This is why this state often goes unnoticed. There is nothing to point to, nothing to describe. The absence of commentary is not absence of awareness. It is awareness without effort. The nervous system is fully present, but not engaged in explanation. This presence does not feel special. It does not feel like a state. It feels like nothing in particular. And that is precisely why it is stable. States that require attention require energy. States that do not require attention conserve it. Stillness without commentary conserves energy by removing the need to monitor. The system remains open, responsive, available, but it is no longer narrating itself. Time moves smoothly here. Moments do not stand out. There is no pressure to mark them. The nervous system rests inside continuity without needing to explain what is happening or why. Nothing needs to be said. Nothing needs to be understood. Stillness remains, not because it is being held in place, but because nothing is disturbing it. And the system continues quietly, without commentary, without effort, resting inside a state that does not require description. Quiet does not arrive with an ending. It does not move toward completion. It does not signal that something is finishing. It simply remains available. The nervous system does not experience quiet as temporary or permanent. Those are concepts layered on afterward. The body experiences quiet as a condition that can be entered and left without consequence. It does not ask how long it will last. It does not prepare for its disappearance. Quiet does not make promises. It does not demand commitment. It does not require duration. It exists when demand is low, and it recedes when demand returns. This availability is important. It means solitude is not something that must be held onto. It does not need to be protected or preserved. It is not something that can be lost. When the nervous system learns this, effort falls away even further. There is no need to anticipate the end of quiet. No need to worry about its return. The body does not cling to it. It does not brace for its absence. It simply responds to what is present now. Quiet does not require conditions to be perfect. It does not require isolation. It does not require control. It appears whenever demand drops, even briefly. This means it is always available in small ways, in pauses, in transitions, in moments where nothing is required. The nervous system recognizes these moments easily once it has learned familiarity. It does not need to name them. It does not need to highlight them. It simply settles when they occur. Because quiet does not end, there is no urgency around it. No need to make use of it. No need to maximize it. Urgency introduces demand. Quiet does not. when the system understands that quiet is not a rare opportunity, vigilance loosens completely. There is no need to hold readiness for what comes next, no need to prepare for change. The body remains open, not waiting. This openness is not expectation, it is neutrality. The nervous system does not lean forward or pull back, it stays balanced. Quiet continues as long as demand remains low. When demand increases, the system responds. When demand decreases again, quiet returns. This cycle is natural. The body does not resist it. It does not attach meaning to it. Quiet is not something to finish. It is not something to conclude. It simply appears and recedes. Understanding this removes pressure. The system does not need to stay in quiet. It does not need to fear leaving it. It can move freely. This freedom allows regulation to hold even more gently. Nothing is being kept. Nothing is being lost. Quiet does not belong to a moment in time. It is not confined to circumstances. It is a state the nervous system can access whenever demand allows. This means quiet does not need to be anticipated. It does not need to be remembered. It is not a place the body goes. It is a condition the body recognizes. Because it does not end, it does not need to be watched. There is no finish line, no return. The nervous system remains steady, knowing that reduced demand will always allow quiet to return, without effort, without preparation, whenever conditions soften again. Quiet waits without demand, and the system continues unhurried, without needing to know when or how stillness will appear again, resting in the understanding that it is never gone. At this point, there is nothing left to explain. Not because everything has been said, but because nothing is being asked. The nervous system does not require completion. It does not look for closure. It does not wait for a final understanding. It simply continues. Quiet does not need to lead anywhere. It does not need to transition into something else. It does not need to be framed or held. It is already sufficient. The body remains present without effort. Breathing continues without direction. Attention rests without needing to settle. Nothing is missing from this state. There is no requirement to move forward. No requirement to look back. No requirement to change what is happening. The system is not paused. It is not waiting. It is simply operating within reduced demand. This is not a moment. It is not an ending. It is continuation without emphasis. The nervous system does not mark this as a stopping point. It does not gather meaning from it. It does not carry it forward as a lesson. It allows experience to remain unshaped. Thoughts may still appear. Sensations may still shift. Time continues to pass. But none of this requires response. The system no longer tracks what is happening. It no longer evaluates. It allows. Quiet does not need to be maintained. It does not need to be protected. It persists as long as demand remains low. When demand returns, the system responds. When demand lowers again, quiet returns. There is nothing to manage in this cycle. Nothing needs to be remembered. Nothing needs to be prepared for. The nervous system remains flexible and steady. It does not hold stillness in place. It does not chase it away. It remains available to what is present now. This availability is not effortful. It does not require attention. It is simply how the system functions when nothing is being asked of it. There is no final thought here, no closing idea. Quiet does not conclude. It continues unremarked, without instruction, without expectation. Nothing more is needed.